pray with every heart.
Do you ever wonder if animals dream? Show of hands. How many people think animals dream? All right. Well, pretty good showing. I've seen my dogs, paws twitching and hear some whining, well, she's sleeping. So I think they dream. But what I know for sure is that we dream. We dream when we're sleeping. We also dream when we're awake. We have not only dreams, but goals and bucket lists, desires. We have our own dreams for ourselves, and we have dreams for the people we love, dreams for the world we live in. But how do we build our dreams? That's what I want to talk about today, being builders of our dreams. It's fun to think about them, but it's even better to try to turn them into reality. There's a teacher and a writer I have enjoyed named Biet Simkin, and she used to be a heroin addict, and then she finally pulled her life together. And she explains, I used to steal like a lot. Occupational hazard of the junkie, I suppose. Coffee, Christmas ornaments, kitchenware, clothes. If it wasn't nailed down, I stole it. I schemed and stole to get what I wanted, but I was never satisfied. In other words, I didn't know what I now call the law of self-will, which tells us that a life lived only to get what you want is empty. Under this law, you have one agenda: get, hold on to, have. You try to manipulate life to get what you want, thinking that it's going to make you happy. But when you seek to achieve your life's goals for their own sake, and then even when you get them, you still feel dissatisfied. On to the next one. You think, oh, this one is definitely going to bring me peace and joy. Everything I want. Still, you're dissatisfied. A vicious cycle, wanting, getting, and realizing it's not what you dreamed. The problem rarely has anything to do with the objects of our desire. It's our motives and our means that cause us trouble, she said. Simkin comes to see that the joy of having things is being able to share them. She goes on, to reach fulfillment, we need to get to give, which is close to the meaning of the Hebrew word Kabbalah, roughly translated, receive in order to give. After shedding her addictions and starting to come into her own without being held down by drugs, Simkin learned this lesson. She learned it this way. She explains in her book titled, Don't Just Sit There. It's kind of like a meditation manual for not just sitting there, but actually taking it into the world. She says, after I got sober, my friend launched a weekly mastermind group about money and invited me to join. As I read these texts that we were reading on creating wealth, I realized that making money is actually about generosity and giving. I started to notice that when I focused on what I could get, money, acclaim, fame, I felt unfulfilled even when I got what I wanted. When I focused on how I could use my gifts to serve others, my entire relationship to what I was doing changed. It felt meaningful, and I had a different kind of passion behind it. You know what also happened? I started making more money and having more success. Now, this is a much different approach to money and to giving than we would hear in a lot of churches. There are a lot of churches that say, if you tithe 10% of your income to the church, God will trust you with money and give you more money. It's a quid pro quo with God. Now, it tends to be very manipulative, saying things like, If you're not, flush with money, don't have everything you want, it's probably because you're not giving enough to the church. If you have problems in your life, it's because you're not holding up your part of the bargain with God to tithe to the church. Now, I will admit that when it comes to raising money for our operating budget, I sometimes wish this was my theology. I think it would help. Unfortunately, I don't. I even think it's very self-serving and very unchristian. That said, I am moved by what Simpkin is saying, her idea that when we're ambitious only for ourselves, achieving our goals are much less satisfying. But when we seek to achieve with the goal of also serving others and giving back, then the satisfaction is so much richer. We get both the joy of achieving our goal and also the added joy of being able to share that love and share our gifts with other people. Now, in my role as a minister, I meet people who have a lot of money, and I meet people who are struggling day to day with money. And yet one thing that we all have in common is that when we take some of what we have and we share it with others, we feel good. Sometimes other clergy in the community will ask me, why don't you ask people to tithe 10%? And how do you still have such a fabulous church? They think that we must get money from our national organization, our national association. But I tell them, no, actually we give money to support our national association. It goes the other way in our denomination. I explain to them, or I remind them really, that when the Bible was written, when the Quran was written, and some of these other scriptures that talk about tithing 10%, the religious community was the one and only charitable organization. They didn't have a bunch of non-government organizations and nonprofits that were helping the homeless and helping the widows and supporting people who were in need. Today, of course, we have lots of wonderful organizations doing great work. We give away our offering plate a lot of times to different organizations doing really good things. And so when people join All Souls, I tell them, we don't expect you to give 10% of your income to the church. Of course, if anyone wants to give 10% of their income to the church, we definitely appreciate it, and we'll use it for really good things. And there are some people who do, and we really appreciate it. But that said, I think this idea of using 90% of what we bring in our life for ourselves, for our family, and then giving away 10% to help create the world we want to live in and to help others and to support the environment and all those other things. It's a great formula. So even though I don't ask people to give 10% to All Souls, I think that it's a great model to give away 10% of what we earn to help create some kind of world that's humane and worth living in and beautiful. And so I ask people, though, to consider the church as an important component in this equation. And the people ask me, but what is a good amount so that I know that I'm doing my part to support All Souls? And I tell people that if they're giving 5% of their income to this church, then they're doing great. They're doing their part. We're delighted. That really helps us make this what it is. If everyone were giving 5% of their income to All Souls, we would be able to do amazing things together, even more than we do now. And that's the goal. So let me get back. That was a little aside, but let me get back to the principle of an important aside, but let me get back to the principle of today's message. It's about using what we have as a tool to bring joy and goodness into the life of our lives and others' lives. Now, when we look at our goals, when you look at your goal, whatever that goal is, maybe you're saving up for a car, maybe you're saving up for a second home, maybe you're just saving up for who knows what. But whatever your goal is, ask yourself the question, how can achieving this goal allow me to bless others and to bless our world? That has a profound effect on your motivation and the satisfaction that you will have in achieving those goals. Living more and more with that kind of mindset, we realize that our goal is not only to just get for ourselves, but also to bring joy and prosperity to others and to our community. Simpkins says, this doesn't just apply to money. Look at what you currently have and ask yourself, how can I use my gifts to create happiness and joy and other opportunities for people? If you have a winning sense of humor, go make someone laugh. If you're strong, help someone move. If you're a good listener, call a friend, ask a lot of questions and listen. If you have a great community of friends, make valuable introductions and connections. This is how we build our dreams while also helping others to build theirs. When we are dreamers and builders, and we surround ourselves with other dreamers and builders, together we bring so much goodness into the world and into each other's lives. So don't just be a dreamer, be a dream builder by building yours and other people's dreams. Now, so far this morning, I've been talking about our individual goals and our individual gifts, but I want to focus for a moment on what we have collectively to share. I want to talk about what we can do for the greater good with what we have as a congregation. And we have a lot. You know, we have this building, which we share with many other groups and organizations throughout our community. We use our building and our resources to feed the hungry, to care for the homeless, to support public education and our democracy, and so much more. It's just what we do. And I know that other religious communities are doing similar things as well. But there's one thing that we have that is historically and theologically and uniquely ours. And that's the free pulpit. A free pulpit is one of the most remarkable, one of the most courageous acts of affirmation in our democratic society. To create such a place in a religious community where the freest expression of doubt and faith, conviction and yearning, truth and opinion can be spoken aloud is unparalleled. There is no constraints placed upon the one who is called to a Unitarian Universalist pulpit. No creedal test, no burden of doctrine, no article of faith. Where else in the world? Where else anywhere? What sheer extravagance of the human spirit. What more explicit exercise of religious freedom? Making a space for a free pulpit is one of the most significant reasons for being as a church. By entrusting our ministers with this pulpit, and with it, the unique privilege and the solemn responsibility of the freest voice with which to speak to the conscience of the culture, the freest voice to question openly and publicly the prevailing assumptions, the common morality, the popular gods. The freest voice to plumb the depths of our being, to search out what the poet said, the dearest, freshest, deep down things. By calling ministers to this free pulpit, you are handing your most sacred trust a platform to speak into your life from the fire of our convictions, our conscience, and our experience. By doing this, you are charging us to cry out loud, to spare not, to lift up our voices like a trumpet in controversy and in compassion. You are telling us to use this free pulpit, to use it fully. And we need it now in Oklahoma. and in America more than ever. We live in a time of rising authoritarianism and Christian nationalism, reaching into the highest halls of our government. We live in a time when women's rights are rolled back, trans rights are legislated away, democracy itself is under siege. Books are banned, libraries are closed, free speech is restricted, people in masks are whisking people off the streets and out of their homes into unmarked vans without warrants and sending them to detention centers here in the United States and to prisons in foreign countries. The military is in our streets. State leaders said no, the courts said it's illegal, and yet here they are. And our children are growing up amid daily gun violence unlike any other nation. This is only water. However, if this keeps up, I might need something stronger. And here we are with the gift of a free pulpit. This is not a time to hold back. If this congregation is faithful to its calling, then this pulpit is the freest 3-foot square in the city of Tulsa. Maybe in the whole state of Oklahoma, maybe in the United States of America. And it's your job as members of this congregation to keep it free. Now, you might not agree with everything we say here. You have the freedom of the pew as well. Nevertheless, your role is to ensure that we have the freedom to say it. And this is not just any Unitarian Universalist congregation. This is the largest one in the world. We have a platform to speak to the conscience of our city and beyond. What we do and say here is frequently covered in the news. So even as we gather to help one another to grow our souls and nurture our spiritual lives, as every ministry must, as a prominent church in this city with a national voice and an international reach, this congregation also carries a distinct responsibility. Here, spirituality must meet the street. Here, faith must speak to the struggles of this city, to the wounds of this nation, and to the injustices of our time. You can applaud that. Here, we are called to be a voice of moral clarity, a counterbalance to other religious voices that may speak, but not always in the name of justice, compassion, and truth. Here, people come not just to be comforted, but to be challenged, to connect our lives with the life of Tulsa and America, and to support the strong articulation of a different way to be religious. Our members could go any place for spirituality. But we come here to have that spirituality tested, stretched, and deepened, to see how our faith can transform our city and nation, and how our city and nation can transform our faith. So I charge you, all souls, to claim our role in Tulsa and America, to be a beacon of justice, a sanctuary of love, a place where courage and compassion flow out beyond these walls, into every neighborhood, every street, every heart that longs for liberty and hope. What do we have that's unique? A free pulpit. You make that happen. It doesn't exist without you making sure that it's here. As Bo Selby comes forward to get ready to debut this new song, uniquely our song, called Builders of the Dream, I want to remind us of what Andrew Clavin once said. The only truly revolutionary idea in human history is freedom. And we have it, as long as we can keep it. Freedom is a gift, just like love and money. When we have it and we keep it only for ourselves, it feels empty. When we share what we have to build the kind of world that we want to live in, then we are builders of the dream. Keep dreaming, be generous, create the world you want to live in, never give up. I love you.
We built this house on hope and faith. With every heart we call thy name. Through open doors, the world will see. Love makes us strong and sets